Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the August 2012 meeting of the High-Speed Rail Authority Board. I'd announce quickly before we actually get started that our chair, Dan Richard, is unable to be with us today, and Vice Chair Lynn Shank and I will fill in for him today.
Takes two of us, huh?
Yeah, it does take two, actually. With that stated, could we call the roll, please?
Here.
Here.
Mr. Umber? Mr. Hartnett?
Here.
Mr. Ballmer?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
So at this point, we do not have a quorum yet. I'm sorry.
Here.
It's on. It just didn't go. Do we have a quorum yet, then, Lisa? Do we have a quorum?
1, 2. Okay, but we can still do the...
Yeah, we're going to take care of some things that don't. Before we get started this morning, well, actually, I'd like to do one other thing. If we could first have the allegiance and Mr. Shank, please.
Thank you. Everybody rise, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick comments, if I may, before we start the agenda this morning. First, I would like to announce or recognize our chair, Dan Richard. This year's honor. Yeah, Chair Dan Richards, who this week was honored in Washington, D.C. at the White House as a recipient of a Champion of Change, specifically in transportation innovation. For those of us who sit upon this dais and have worked with Dan for the last year plus, we understand how well deserved this award is. He represents, I'm sure we would all say, the finest in public service, both to this state and to this nation. And so we add our congratulations to Dan. And secondly, on a slightly more somber note, I would also like to announce that our chair notified each of the members this week that one of our board members who's been with us for a number of years and served faithfully, Russ Burns, has resigned in order to devote all of his focus on the administration of his duties as the head of Local 3. What's going on in this?
He's trying to figure it out right now.
Okay. I keep going in and out, and for that I apologize. You're trying to figure out what's wrong here. Okay. Does this one work? All right. We'll try that one. At any rate, Russ has been very actively involved in helping to achieve the goals that we have been able to accomplish this year, which have been pretty momentous. And with the achievement of those goals, he is needing to turn his time and his efforts towards the administration of Local 3. And we will miss him. He has been a dedicated and honorable member of this board and has served this state very well. We'll miss his camaraderie and his friendship. And finally, I don't think he needs any introduction, but I want to introduce Jeff Morales. I believe this is his first public meeting with us. Jeff, as you know, is our new executive director, joining us in the beginning of June. His face and his voice should not be new to any of you who have been coming to our meetings, as he's been providing a tremendous amount of consulting insight and knowledge for some time. We are thrilled to death that he chose to take this position. He's doing a terrific job, I can tell you, without equivocation over these first 2 months, and we look forward to his continued participation and making high-speed rail a reality in California. Welcome, Jeff. Now we'll move on to our agenda items, but before we do that, we're going to take public comment. And I'm going to ask Vice Chair Schenck to begin this, and I'll excuse myself for a moment.
Thank you. New mic system. Thank you very much. The first public commenter is Leanne Eager. And after Ms. Eager, it'll be Fred Jordan. So if the speakers would sort of make their way to the front in the interest of time. Good morning.
Congratulations to all of you. I know that vote a couple weeks ago was a little bit scary, but thanks to all the work that you do, you know, it is going forward, and we're in the high-speed rail business, so congratulations. I just wanted to fill you in real quickly on what we're doing in Fresno. As you know, I'm the CEO of the Economic Development Corporation, and we've been working closely with the City of Fresno and the County of Fresno, and we've been meeting with all of the businesses along the alignment to get them prepared for what's to come. We've been hosting large meetings with 200 and then individual meetings with just the property owners and the tenants. It's been very successful. They've been very receptive to hear what's going to be happening and what their options are. We've been putting together a list of places they could move within the county, really giving them general information about what's to come. We have been hosting events. This last week, we were very pleased to host Mr. Wilcox in Fresno. We brought in community leaders for him to meet, and we're very excited about hosting Mr. Morales next week. I also do have a statement from Supervisor Perea, and as you know, he does not miss a meeting, but this was very important for him to be in Los Angeles.
This is the second one. We're counting.
But wait till you hear this one. Now you know why. So this is his statement. I apologize for missing today's High-Speed Rail Authority meeting. As Leanne Eager reads the statement on my behalf, I am attending the California State Association of Counties Executive Committee meeting where they're taking up the topic of high-speed rail. As a member of the CSAC board, it was a very important meeting for me to attend and participate in, as it is imperative for the organization to maintain statewide supervisorial support for your project. And that's my role. Fresno Works remains steadfast in its support for high-speed rail, and we will continue to do so as you move your project forward into the implementation phase. As you have many important decisions to make in the very near future, we also would encourage you to make a decision on the location of the heavy maintenance facility as soon as possible. We need additional good news. Thank you again for all that you do to make high-speed rail a reality in California. So yes, he has missed 2 meetings, but both of those, he was advocating for high-speed rail someplace else.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, I failed to announce that, as usual, we have a 2-minute limit on public comment. So thank you.
Thank you.
Fred Jordan. And following Mr. Jordan, Diana Lacombe.
Good morning. My name is Fred Jordan. I'm the chair of APAC, Associated Professionals and Contractors. And we've been working with the authority for the past 2 years now. Today is a historic day for us because you are going to vote on the 10% DBE. We're elated, and we appreciate your support in the past. Indeed, you are one half of the way there because you brought in the 30% small business, and now you can complete this. We can have a game changer here in a corridor that's 72% minority and a state 55%, 20% unemployment. This could make a difference, a real difference. It is a win-win, and I want to thank you for your support in advance.
Thank you very much. Diana Lacombe. And following Ms. Lacombe is Robert S. Allen.
Good morning, Vice Chair Schenck and members of the board. I'm Diana Lacombe. I am the president of APAC, Associated Professionals and Contractors. First, you kind of stole my thunder because I wanted to congratulate Chairman Richard on his acknowledgement as by the White House as the Transportation Champion of Change. So congratulations to him. Second, thank you, board members and staff, for addressing the many issues we have raised for the past 2 years, such as Title VI, disparity study, and so on, particularly the DBE goal that you're going to be voting on today. Thank you for following what FRA directed you to do in their final decision of September 15th, 2011 letter. They asked you to follow best practices of 49 CFR Part 26, the DBE program, and you're doing that, so thank you for that. Lastly, your work and ours has just begun, really. The real work is coming up. It's the oversight and implementation of the SBE, DBE, and DVBE program. I'd like to reiterate a previous recommendation that has been discussed here, and that is, in order for this board to really keep track of, how the prime contractors are doing on their contracts, to ask them to make monthly reports here in front of you so that you know what they're attaining every month. We know what their goals are going to be in the beginning, but if they start at least at a minimum quarterly reporting what is being done, I think that will help everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Robert S. Allen, followed by Rich Dryden. Good morning.
Good morning. High-speed rail should safely unite the North and South in California. Running high-speed rail on the Caltrain track, blended rail, however, is just too dangerous. There are 43 peninsula grade crossings with pedestrians, cars, and tracks. The high-speed rail trains would be inches away from unprotected passengers on the Caltrain platforms. There is a better, cheaper, safer way to bring high-speed rail into the Bay Area. That's to upgrade and follow the Union Pacific's Mulford Rail Line, long used by Amtrak's Coast Daylight, from San Jose and the Santa Clara SJC station, which I hope you put in, to a joint high-speed rail BART station in West Oakland, where BART crosses over the UP corridor. BART trains run every few minutes to the 4 downtown San Francisco stations. The station is convenient to the east end of the Bay Bridge. BART trains would serve much of the Bay Area. Upgrading would include grade separation, fencing, and multi-tracking, because most of that's single track. There would be 4 major sources of savings. One is electrifying Caltrain incompatibility. It's incompatible with its conversion to BART for a 5-county BART. It would save tunneling and terminal rail facilities in San Francisco. There would be no need for a subsequent tunnel underneath the San Francisco Bay for extension to Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you. We always appreciate your comments. Rich Dryden, who will be followed by David Schwegel.
Morning. Thank you. Rich Dryden, Executive Director of the California Disabled Veteran Business Alliance. I'd like to sincerely thank the board for the inclusion of the 3% DVBE goal into the California High-Speed Rail Small Business Plan. That's you can't imagine how important that is over the next 3 to 5 years as more and more disabled veterans return to California to live here and to try to integrate back into the society economically, and many may not be able to find jobs or may be unemployable but may be able to run a business. Thank you very much for that. Secondly, we'd like to strongly support the approval today of the 10% disadvantaged business enterprise goal, entry into the California High-Speed Rail Small Business Plan, in accordance with the present memorandum of understanding you have with Federal Rail Authority under 4926 and mirroring that's done through Federal Highway Authority with Caltrans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. David Schwegel, followed by Joe Debs, followed by Lou Zalar. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Mr. Schwegel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
David Schwegel. I, too, want to extend my congratulations to Mr. Chairman Dan Richard on the White House Transportation Innovator Champion of Change Award, and I would also like to express my appreciation to all of you valuable leaders on your valuable gold nuggets for this golden opportunity for our Golden State. We have just started our climb up El Capitan, and I am very inspired by the Hall of Fame leaders that I saw on yesterday's USHSR e-newsletter, and I am especially inspired by our Senate Pro Temp Darrell Steinberg in his remark, well, gee, with all 15 Republicans and 4 of the Democrats opposed, had to get everybody else, and he did. As we face treacherous terrain and storm clouds ahead, we can certainly be inspired by the fact that we do live in a state that is a firm believer in thinking big. Speaking of thinking big, one of our challenges is communications and outreach, and I wanted to encourage us to check out the various communications and outreach resources available from the U.S. High-Speed Rail Association. In particular, they have a high-speed rail television series coming up. It's talking about business and tourism impacts of European high-speed rail systems, paralleling the development potential here in the U.S. Coming soon to a PBS station near you. That's www.highspeedrail.tv. Check out PBS in the near future for this fantastic communication and outreach opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwegel. As Mr. Des makes his way to the microphone, followed by Mr. Zalar, I just want to remind everyone, if they want to speak, please get the green slip in to the board secretary. We'll be open for about another 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joe Debs, and this is my first meeting. And I'm just so happy to see high-speed rail finally surface. I'm a former Amtrak conductor, Union Pacific and Southern Pacific conductor for 38 years, and been hoping and praying that we finally get some transportation besides the turtle and snail trains that we have going now. It's been very frustrating. I think it's a very safe high-speed rail. It's going to be a very safe means of transportation. I think it's going to be very efficient, and it's going to be adequate. And hopefully, I heard someone talk about crossings. In the past several years, one of the goals of the railroads is to eliminate crossings because of the high speed, and the trains are beginning to increase their speed, so hopefully that won't be a problem. I support the high-speed rail resolution 1221 regarding the 10% business enterprise, as well as the 30% small business goals as well. I wanted to ask a question. Is this going to be a mandated or voluntary goals?
This is public comment period, and that will be answered during the presentation by the staff.
Okay.
Okay? Good.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Lou Zalar, followed by Mr. Ralph Casarda.
Hi, my name's Lou Zalar. I'm here with a little success story as far as DBEs go. I'm with Winslow Reprographics, a certified small disadvantaged print business here in Sacramento. A few months ago, we were fortunate enough to be selected by Circle Point and AECOM to print both draft and final EIRs and projected rail routes. Now, we were an unknown quantity, but they took the extra step and gave us an opportunity, keyword opportunity. We would not have had this except for this program. After we completed the initial draft copies consisting of thousands of pages and thousands of CDs on time, I imagine they breathed a little easier. When the final version was ready, we printed it out, excellent quality, all deadlines met. I just wanted to say thank you to Circle Point and AECOM, and although we might be an extra step in the whole process, we can be an effective and valuable asset towards completion of the high-speed rail project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ralph Casarda, followed by Tate Hill.
Good morning. On behalf of the Pacific Legal Foundation and its members, I provide the following comments. The authority's adoption of an overall DBE goal at this time, even if it is to be achieved through race-neutral measures, would likely violate federal law and the California Constitution. The suggested overall 10% goal is based entirely on proposed congressional language in Senate Bill 1813, which is yet to be passed by the House. The bill proposes changes to the federal regulations by making the national DBE goal of 10% applicable to projects administered by the FRA. The authority declares that it is required by the FRA to incorporate the best practices of the federal DBE regulations, but those regulations specifically prohibit the very action the authority is considering. 2645B states you cannot simply rely on either the 10% national goal without reference to relative availability of DBEs in your market. That same section also states your overall goal must be based on demonstrable evidence of the availability of ready, willing, and able DBEs relative to all businesses ready, willing, and able to participate on your DOT-assisted contracts. Without its disparity study, the authority lacks demonstrable evidence of DBE availability. 2641B clearly warns the national 10% goal does not authorize recipients to set overall goals at the 10% level if their calculated goals are not in fact 10%. The authority, like any other federal aid recipient, may not avoid the goal-setting procedures required by the federal DBE regulations by simply adopting the national 10% goal. Since the federal regulations do not authorize the authority to simply adopt the national DBE goal, it cannot be said that the authority must do so in order to receive federal funding. The authority is thus required to follow Article 1, Section 31 of the California Constitution and refrain from encouraging prime contractors to prefer subcontractors on the basis of race or sex. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tate Hill, followed by Paul Guerrero.
Hello, Tate Hill from the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, also representing the California Black Chamber of Commerce. Just wanted to come and represent our support for item 3 for the 10% DBE goal. We are elated that the High-Speed Rail Authority Board is looking to increase this outreach and opportunity for minority and DBE firms within the area. Just in the Fresno County area alone, there are more than 15,000 small minority-owned businesses, and these businesses are looking for opportunities to engage and participate with the contractors that will be selected as the prime contractors for this project. We believe this is a great addition to supporting the authority's 30% small business concerns goal, and our chambers are willing to support and engaging and outreaching to DBEs and supporting those efforts. So thank you very much, and we appreciate the support that you're providing to small businesses today.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Hill. Mr. Guerrero, followed by Marvin Dean, who will be followed by Vida Wright. We're getting Mr. Umberg on the line, so he will be joining us in a moment. But Mr. Guerrero, hello.
Good morning. I want to add one thing to what I was going to talk about. The gentleman who spoke before me from our opponent's Pacific Legal Foundation failed to state that the FRA did direct this agency to perform a disparity study, and the disparity study only leads to one end, which is a DBE goal. And so you do have the authority to go ahead. What I want to talk about, though, is something different. You're here today to adopt a EJ policy. An EJ policy is something that you adopt at the earliest stages of planning to involve the community in your project. Had this been done at the early stages of planning, which I assume was somewhere around 2002, you would not have had lines of people up here before you at the various meetings I've attended asking, what's going on? This is the first we heard of this project. That's what the EJ is supposed to do. Go out and inform the public, to have meetings with them. How can we help you? How is this going to affect you? How can we mediate your damages and so forth? So it's great that you're doing this. We're apparently running 10 years behind schedule. And I would suggest that this board ask for a presentation on what's been done to date to implement this policy, and how does your staff plan to catch up if they're running 10 years behind? Because people need to know that there's going to be a train going through their yard, not like the people that have been coming up here speaking before you. They need to know what's going on. They need to have town meetings. There needs to be a meeting in Fresno. There needs to be a meeting in Bakersfield. People need to be invited. There needs to be flyers, multi-language flyers to address the population down there. So if your staff is 10 years behind, we hope that you can give them a little nod and get them going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. Marvin Dean, followed by Vida Wright.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good morning.
Been up all night trying to get here. But But anyway, good morning. I want to, first of all, before I start my remarks, I want to thank the entire board. It took a lot of effort, hard work by all of you to get to this point. And I also want to welcome and thank our new CEO that's coming on board. And I want to also thank your CEO, acting CEO, general counsel, acting in two capacity. I mean, it took all of us to get to this point. I think we all can feel good about today. But I want to say, first of all, also I support the remarks from APAC. I'm a member of the APAC organization. I'm just going to be real brief because I see the time. I have a written document. I'm just going to supplement my comments there. Item number 2, I believe that you're going to outsource some of this to Caltrans. We believe that Caltrans, we're on the Small Business Council of Caltrans, that Caltrans should also follow the 30% goal, and it should be in the document that's going to be entered into between this agency and Caltrans. The 10% goal, we strongly support it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I think it's only the right thing to do. And the item number 4, the environmental justice policies, I think we need to do more in those communities because there's going to be impact in these environmental justice communities. We're not doing enough to get these people ready, and we're pleased to work with staff to do that. We support item 6 and 7 as staff written, and then the last thing on the disparity study, we think we need to do that now because that will also evaluate adjusting the final DBE goal. Because I believe we're going to talk about right now it's going to be race neutral. So therefore anybody, any ethnicity can be certified as a DBE. So it's not to any particular group. But once we do the study, then we can make the adjustment. So I support those items. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you. You go.
Thank you very much. Vida Wright, followed by Michael Lamb.
Good morning. My name is Vida Wright. I'm the owner of Veridico Group, Inc., a small woman-owned business and certified DBE in Roseville, California. My comment is regarding agenda item 3, which is DBE participation goal. My experience is that usually a small business and specifically DBE participation goals are not met unless they're enforced. And DBE firms across California have tremendous amount of capabilities and are looking for meaningful participation in this project. And finally, I want to congratulate the board and the state of California for finally getting this project online and actually bringing California's transportation to the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Michael Lamb, followed by Karen Stout.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Michael Lamb from Hanford, California, and I stand here today in opposition to the high-speed rail project. And my reasons for this opposition are many, but I just want to make a few. The high-speed rail project is to submit an environmental impact study, an environmental impact report, EIS-EIR. This was released within the last 2 weeks. It is 30,000 pages long. Have you read it? I've looked at it. I don't have time to read 30,000 pages in less than 2 weeks. I think that by doing this, you've deprived me of my due process rights to review this, to look at this. As a taxpaying citizen, this is my right to review this. I think that this project is probably needed. Not now. I think it needs to be reviewed more closely. I think that there's a lot of this rusted judgment business that is leaving out a lot of critical information. Just like your picture, you have very nice pictures here, and I think like those pictures that are beautiful but fanciful. I think your project is fanciful unless you've got all the projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Karen Stout, followed by Frank Oliveira.
Good morning. My name is Karen Stout. I'm a walnut farmer in Kings County and also a member of Citizens of California for High-Speed Rail Accountability. I've been looking over the EIR-EIS, and I am a certified school teacher, and I just looked up through the ag section there, which is 3.14 in volume number 2, and I came across U.S. Ag Department Natural Resources Conservation Service attachment number 1. So I'm looking through your report, and I'm finding 2 pages that look exactly the same. They're exactly the same form. It doesn't really distinguish what one is and which one the other one is, but they have corridor A, B, C, and D on both of the forms, and parts 3, and exactly the same form, and it doesn't say which this is and what that is. So I don't know how anybody's going to really decipher even what information I've been given here. So I'd like to know how to go about finding out what corridor I am, because I know that I'm in the eastern alignment through Kings County, which is now called the Hanford alignment through Kings County, which when you look at the map, it's called the H alignment through Kings County. And now I have a corridor. I don't know if I'm A through D, but I did discover on the page previous to this that I had a choice between Kings 1 through 6, and I eliminated 4, 5, and 6. So I'm either Kings 1, 2, or 3, and maybe I'm King 1, I think, maybe. I'm not sure. But this is how we're trying to navigate through this report. The other thing I wanted to mention, on this specific page, this attachment number 1, it says that there is no indirect acreage that is converted from ag, out of ag, I guess is the way I should
Ms.
say
Stout,
it.
if you would wrap up.
Okay. Anyway, there's no way that no indirect acreage is affected. The big fat 0 there makes no sense whatsoever.
Thank you. Public comment cards now. If anybody has one, we'll take it now. Otherwise, time for submitting them is closed. And we will have Mr. Frank Oliveira and our last speaker, General Jeff.
My name is Frank Oliveira. I represent the Citizens for California High-Speed Rail Accountability. We are reviewing more than 30,000-page Fresno to Bakersfield revised draft environmental impact report. 30,000 pages divided by 60 days, a 60-day review period, equals 500 pages a day, 7 days a week, reading 24 hours a day to complete that operation. None of you or your engineers have done that. You would die due to exhaustion as we would. Reality is even worse. There are only 10 document locations in Kings County. None open 7 days a week. Most open 5 days a week and open less than 8 hours a day, and only during business hours when people with jobs are unavailable. Translation. Everyone cannot access your documents for all of the 60-day period you have allotted. But if they could only do it for 8 hours a day, which means it would take 3 times the days to read the same material at the same rate. That does not account for the weekend closures which compound the problem. The 60-day review period that you've given us to review this matter is unreasonable if you really want public participation. The authors of CEQA could never have imagined the law being applied to the largest infrastructure project in the history of the U.S. and only receiving a 60-day public review. Remember, the statewide project review received 6 months with far less information to consider. That precedent has already been set. We respectfully request that the environmental impact report review period be extended to 180 days or 120 days if the state would make their documents more readily available to the public at large. The CDs are helpful but cannot replace the documents for those members of the public who are not computer owners. This is an official request for action from the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oliveira. General Jeff, and then the last speaker is Diane.
Good morning. My name is General Jeff. I'm a proud Skid Row resident. I'm also on the board of the Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council, where I'm the Vice President of Outreach and Communications. I'm also the co-chair of the Skid Row Community Advisory Board for the Department of Mental Health. I'm here before you today on behalf of my community, and again, just like with the previous speakers, we have concern about the 30,000 pages of documentation and the short review period. In the few pages that I've been able to review, there's a major concern because we don't see any health and wellness component items involved in there, where we feel that we're very confident that our community in Skid Row will be able to qualify for the DBE program, and we definitely are excited about this opportunity, but we don't see the health and wellness component that will ensure our longevity throughout the duration of this project. And so we hope that not only just through the 10% to 30% of the DBE program, but we hope that there will be an overall health and wellness component, not only just for the truly disadvantaged folks, but also the entire workforce that will be involved with this whole entire project. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker, Diane Woods.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your proposed high-speed rail project. We think it's exceptional. We are very glad that it is coming to California, and we are also very appreciative for the opportunity to make comments. I have an earned doctorate in public health, and I am also a community-based participatory researcher in which I involve the general population in helping them to find and identify viable reasons for health and wellness. This is an excellent opportunity for individuals to have viable jobs and for sustainability over a long period of time, so I am very pleased with that. There is a section in the outline that talks about anticipated problems and looking at other high-speed rail projects, whether in the United States or out of the United States. This area, we have a lot of research to indicate that we need to pay attention for those who are working on the grounds so that they are there for the sustainability and long-term process. We would urge that in the evaluation of the proposals that come through under Section 7.11, under Section 9.3, where we talked about technical weight in the projects, anticipated problems, and proposed solutions, please give high consideration regarding the state and wellness of your small business minority groups, because this will mean that people will change their livelihood and have opportunities for their children and children to grow, and we will have exceptional economy, we will have a better environment, and we are suggesting that you add in your evaluation component that the designers and those who are going to be working on this issue will build in a wellness program for our small businesses. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is the microphone on? Can you hear me? Not sure. Okay. Thank you. That closes the public comment period. For those of you who are new to these sessions, let me just say that a number of questions and comments and advice was given here. And you notice that we on the board don't respond. It is our custom not to engage in colloquy or discussion or debate during the public comment. This is the public's time to comment. But please be assured that all of your comments are taken into account, into consideration by the staff, by the board, and I think that is reflected by the ultimate work that is done here, whether it's DBE, we've got to say something, call it something that's me to pronounce, but, or rights of way. We take this into serious consideration, and during the course of presentations, some of your questions and comments addressed. So with that, we will now turn to the agenda. We're at item number 1, which would be the minutes of the meetings of April 12th, the minutes of the meeting of April 19th, the minutes of the meeting of May 18th, minutes of the meeting of May 22nd, minutes of the meeting of May 29th, minutes of the meeting of July 3rd, and it's June 8th, but I assume that might be a typo. Is that correct? It says minutes of the meeting of June 8th. June 8th? It is correct. Oh, okay. It was just misfiled. So I'm assuming that everyone is... and minutes of meetings of May 2nd and 3rd. And we've read the minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Approval.
Move approval. Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We don't need a roll call for that, do we, Mr. Felenz? That was a more important conversation.
You also reflect that Tom Umberg was an aye.
Good. All right. So now we'll move on to item number 2 on the agenda, and our Vice Chair, Mr. Richards, will be recusing himself from this item. So we'll wait for you to leave the room. Don't go too far. We need you for many reasons.
Hello?
Yeah, Tom Umberg is on the line, and we do have a quorum. Wait one moment, Mr. Felenz. Okay, thank you. Let the record reflect that Mr. Richards has left the room, accused himself, and we are on to Caltrans interagency agreement, item number 2.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. will be making the staff presentation.
Yes. Madam Chair and board members, the staff is asking for approval of an interagency agreement for the relocation of Highway 99. And we're asking for approval for a budget up to $225,900,000 for the relocation of Highway 99 from its current location within the limits of Ashland Avenue to Clinton Avenue in the city of Fresno. It's necessary to relocate Highway 99 because the High-Speed Rail Authority is planning on acquiring the property within those limits to put the high-speed rail facility. Caltrans has indicated they would be able to do the work associated with the relocation of 99, as well as place the high-speed rail facilities, which would be building it up to the sub-ballast and not including the tracks, and they could do that using the design bid build format. What we have done is we've received a cost estimate from Caltrans for the variety of services needed to complete this, which would include all the costs of property acquisition, the design, and construction of these facilities. I also just wanted to let you know that internally we've used contract employees to develop an estimate of their own for this associated work. And Caltrans' estimate was between $166 million and $225 million. And internally, using contract consultants, we came up with an estimate of $195 million right in the middle. We didn't have a high and low like Caltrans did. So what we're asking is that you approve a budget up to $225,900,000 for this item, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Felenz. Comments, questions from the board? Mr. Umberg, are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Good, okay. Well, why don't we start with you, since we seem to have a good connection at the moment. Any questions or comments?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Mr. Hartnett.
Yes, just in terms of if we enter into this interagency agreement with Caltrans, what is the authority's role in monitoring the project, and from a budget perspective and an operational perspective?
We would manage the budget for this section, just as we would all our high-speed rail construction and design. We will have access to a trailer location or office space, which is part of this agreement, and that we will share with Caltrans. So we'll have on-the-ground people monitoring. We'll be doing checks of the plans that are generated, as well as construction oversight.
Mr. Rossi? No? Mr. Balganord?
No questions.
Yes. Well, let me make a couple of comments. I'm very excited. This is the first time we're going to shovel dirt. So it's very exciting after 30-plus years to finally come to this moment for me. In terms of the Caltrans relationship, I think we are doubly fortunate to have as our new CEO, Jeff Morales, who was the director of Caltrans, and so knows all their secrets and all their ins and outs. So we have an extra layer of oversight here, so we're fortunate in that regard. My question and concern, really, Mr. for the staff, is this, having been around and having been the Secretary of Business, Transportation, and Housing, of which Caltrans was a department, and having known Mr. Morales when he was head of Caltrans, I've seen these movies before, and sometimes the endings aren't so great. And I'm particularly concerned and want to focus on the issue of fraud, the issues of when there's a lot of money involved, there are lots of opportunities for everything from mismanagement to theft. And so I just want to caution, again, staff, to make sure that we keep a real eagle eye on that, because we have Caltrans, who is going to be subcontracting with various contractors in the private sector. And I know we want to believe that everybody is very honest, but reality is that we sometimes lose lots of money, lots of time, and quality of work. So that is personal concern based on experience. And second, I have a question that actually was raised by one of the speakers, and that is, will the DBE components that we will later attach to these particular contracts?
Yes, we will have those same provisions.
The same provisions. Okay. All right. If there are no further comments or questions, yes, Jeff.
Madam Chair, just this is one example of the partnerships that we will be creating with Caltrans and other state agencies to move the program forward. One of the things we're doing in conjunction with that, and to point of some of your concerns, is to have high-level, myself and the Caltrans director working closely together to oversee this work, to monitor, to make sure that the partnership is working the way it's supposed to. So we appreciate your concerns, and we'll certainly be doing everything we can to ensure that these funds are spent appropriately and we get the value out of them that we expect.
Thank you. As Lenny said about LBJ, and I know it's a reference that most of you don't remember, I'll sleep better at night knowing that you're at. Thank you. So without any further comment or question, do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second. Would the Secretary call the roll?
Vice Chair Shank?
Yes.
Mr. Umber? Mr. Umber?
Aye.
Mr. Hartnett?
Yes.
Mr. Baglamer?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes. The motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could someone notify Vice Chair Richards that he may return to the room? And meanwhile, why don't we go on to item number 3, the amendment to small business program to address the 10% D goal. Ms. Padilla.
Actually, I'm Olivia Fonseca, and thank you for allowing me to come and present to the inclusion of a 10% disadvantaged business goal to the existing small and disadvantaged business enterprise program.
Please.
Okay. As was stated earlier by a couple of the presenters, the Federal Railroad Administration directed the High-Speed Rail Authority to implement a DBE program, a small and disadvantaged business program, using the best practices of 49 CFR Part 26. The authority had considered the 30% goal in its submission to the board in November of 2011. In that particular plan, we identified that the 30% would include small DBEs, disadvantaged business, disabled veterans, and micro businesses. During the May board meeting, we were advised by the board to consider the inclusion of a specific disadvantaged business goal into the existing small and disadvantaged business program. At the time in May, the board also approved a goal for disabled veteran business participation, as was stated by Mr. Dryden, in his appreciation that the program now includes a 3% disabled veteran business goal. Today I present to you in your board packet the request your approval to approve a 10% DBE goal that is aspirational. It follows in the same vein as that established by the U.S. Secretary of Transportation in 49 CFR 26.41. The 10% goal in existing federal regulations is an aspirational national goal. In the interim of following the proposal today, we would also be following that. That is the same goal that is applied to highways, transit, and airports. So our board request today is approve the inclusion of a 10% DBE goal that will be race neutral within the 30% small business goal as described in the small business program plan. Also to authorize the Jeff Morales, CEO, to submit the revised small business program plan with the inclusion of the 10% to FRA for their formal approval. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, comments, concerns from members of the authority? Mr. Hartnett?
Thank you. Given the Pacific Legal Foundation public comments and the letter that we received, I wonder if we can get comment from our CEO and or our general counsel with respect to the matter.
Mr. Hartnett and other board members, there's no reason why you can't proceed with the vote today. There's nothing illegal about proceeding with the adoption of the resolution as to be presented.
If I might ask about I know this is not a new issue in terms of evaluating a program such as this, and perhaps the specific matters brought up in the Pacific Legal Foundation letter dated today's date have already been considered. But that's what I want to be aware of is have you already considered in advance of today, or can you consider today the issues that were brought up so as to address them with confidence as we move forward to voting on this?
Yes, I did look at the letter earlier today and this morning, and I've concluded that you can move ahead with this vote as being presented to you.
Okay. I know Mr. Umberg had some comments on this issue in previous meetings, and I'd be interested if he has wanted to amplify on those comments to hear if he's willing to talk about those.
Mr. Umberg, are you there?
Yes.
Yes.
I am. Unfortunately, I really can't. I can hear you, Madam Chairwoman, but I can't hear others very well.
So Mr. Hartnett was inquiring whether he the thought that you had some concerns on this issue and the matters raised by the Pacific Legal Foundation, and if so, are you interested in sharing those comments now?
The one question I would have is whether our plan would provide for disabled veteran business enterprises the same as if we had no federal money in the project. In other words, the state has certain requirements with respect to DEBE, and the federal government has a different requirement. And the sense of the board, I think it was the motion that was carried, incorporated plan to use the state standards rather than the federal standards. So the question is, does this plan still have the state standards as our standards for the project?
I believe that, well, we'll let staff answer that, but I believe that was not what you were asking, was it, Mr. Hartnett?
No, I know that was one of his issues,
yeah.
so if that's the area you wanted to comment on, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so why don't we pause for just a moment and wrap up with Mr. Hartnett's concerns. Were there any other thoughts on that subject?
Yeah, it is my impression that our program is on the 10% goal is not based entirely on the proposed congressional language. And so I want to make sure that I'm correct in that regard.
That's correct. There is some proposed federal language, but our goal is based on existing federal regulation.
And so that we feel confident based upon the existing federal regulations as compared to an assumption as to what may happen with proposed congressional language that we're compliant in our program.
Yes.
Does that satisfy your concern? Now let's turn to Mr. Umberg's question. And if Mr. D, if you could try to speak it. The system isn't working well. I apologize. I don't know what the problem is here, but let's see if you can speak right into it if he could hear you.
And speaking to Mr. Umberg's question,
yes.
The disadvantaged business enterprise goal would apply to the federal aid component of the project. It is not a component of our state-funded contracts. So, however, the disabled veteran business goal that was passed in May through the board is applying to our federal aid program. Again, it's a 3% goal within the 30% small business overall goal.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
To 3%. Did you hear that, Commissioner Umberg?
No, Madam Chair, I could hear the last word, which is yes. So, yes.
That's all you need. Yes. Yes as to the 3%.
Yes.
A part of the 10% will apply to the disabled veterans matter.
And let me clarify, it's the 3% applies to within the 30% small business goal for our federal.
Within the 30%
yes.
small business goal.
As approved and amended during the May board meeting.
Okay. And I assume if Mr. Umberg has any more questions about that, he can contact with you.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And anything else, Mr. Umberg?
Are we using the state standards, the federal standards in terms of DVDE?
We are using the state standards for disabled veteran participation.
Could you hear that?
I heard it. Thank you.
Okay. Anything more, Mr. Umberg?
No, nothing further.
Okay. Mr. Rossi? No? Good. Mr. Valganor? All right. If there are no further comments or questions, do I hear a motion? Second. Mr. Rossi seconds. Would the Secretary call the roll? Yes.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Hartnett?
Yes.
Mr. Baglenorth?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Yes. And Mr. Umberg?
Mr. Umber?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. And before I turn the gavel back to my co-vice chair here, I want to say that this also is historic, a long time in coming. We on this authority, frankly, didn't need either encouragement or direction from the federal government. This is something that we are committed to and have been committed to, and we look forward to its long-planned implementation. And I want to thank the members of the public who have so consistently been here and talking about this, encouraging, goading, but I think they know that we were always on the same page. So thank you very much. And we are at item number 12.
Thank you, Vice Chair Shank. Moving on to item number 4, approval and adoption of environmental justice policy and guidance. Ms. Padilla.
Again, I'm Olivia Fonseca. Pat Padilla was not able to join us today, so I'm presenting on behalf of the authority. Today, I also present on behalf of the authority the environmental justice guidance. As a requirement of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, it includes the inclusion of consideration of protecting our minority and low-income populations, otherwise known as environmental justice. In September of 2011, FRA requested the authority to not only complete a Title VI program plan that the board approved at the March board meeting, but also to include an additional component, which is a document that stands alone, and that is the environmental justice guidance. So the guidance supplements the authority's Title VI program plan. The authority vetted the proposed environmental policy and guidance through the Federal Railroad Administration staff and internally. The FRA did provide some comments, and their comments were included in the version that you see today, have been presented today. And I do need to note that there are 2 errors in your copy. They will be corrected before we forward it and, of course, post it on our website. The FRA request, their comment to the document is to ensure that we cite the U.S. Department of Transportation Order 5610.2, which was recently signed by Secretary LaHood in May of 2012. So that item has been, again, vetted and approved, tentatively approved by FRA. The adoption of the environmental justice policy also formalizes the authority's longstanding efforts to address environmental justice matters in a very comprehensive component. I also want to identify that the environmental justice is a component of the EIR documents that have been presented to the board and continue to be presented. So the environmental justice is not new to the authority. It has been practiced and is continuing to be practiced by the authority in the assurance and delivery of the EIR documents. Environmental justice is the fair treatment of people of all races, cultures, and incomes, and with respect to the development, adoption, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws and policies. The authority is committed to apply environmental justice to all its programs and other activities that are undertaken, funded, or approved by FRA that affect our policy decisions, systems planning, project development, EIR under NEPA, preliminary and final design engineering, right-of-way, constructions, operations, and maintenance. Implementation of the environmental justice principles, there are 3: to avoid, minimize, or mitigate disproportionately high human health and environmental effects, including social and economic effects on minority and low-income populations, to ensure the full and fair participation by all affected communities in the transportation decision-making process, and to prevent the denial, reduction in, or significant delay in the receipt of benefits by minority and low-income populations. Our goals are to protect the equality and human health in all communities, apply environmental and civil rights laws to achieve fair environmental protection, promote and protect community members' rights to participate meaningfully in environmental decision-making that may affect them. This also includes the requirement of having limited English proficiency at our events in order to ensure and engage the public that does not speak English. The policy has been presented to you in your packet. Today, I request that the board approve the policy for the CEO's signature and to approve the guidance, the EJ guidance that may be submitted to FRA for their review and final approval.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the board? Mr. Hartnett? Mr. Baganoff? All right. I just have one that I'd ask either Mr. Flens or Mr. Morales. Since we're implementing or we're working on a policy now, I'm just wondering, have we been able to address this in any way with regards to the existing environmental document that's out for public comment?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the point that Ms. Fonseca made a moment ago is very important, that the adoption of an environmental justice policy here really is a formalization of existing practice and long-standing practice. These issues have been incorporated into the environmental documents to date. Adoption of this policy is a reinforcement and focusing particular attention on the principle of environmental justice, and to really put the board and the authority on record with adoption of this. But it does not suggest that we have not been following these practices.
Thank you very much. I think that's a really important point. Mr. Rossi.
I'm looking, our esteemed General Counsel, I'm looking at the attachment C. Do you have it there, Tom? And it says 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down, afectados por proyectos financiados. This is not a project that is being financed by federal funds. I'm looking at attachment C. Yes. And so, if you look at the first paragraph, I'm just wondering where it says for projects financed with federal funds or actividades, it's not being financed with federal funds. The 3.7 is not a financing, it's a grant. So I'm just wondering if it's important or not. So, as I was reading through this, I just saw that.
As I stated earlier, we noted that there are a couple items that need to be amended and revised before we finalize the document, and that is one. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention, as there are a couple others. Also, FRA asked us that we include the new order as part of the attachments.
Yes, Vice Chair Shank.
Yeah. On the resolution, Mr. Flens, HSRA 12-22. Do you have it? Yes. Yep. So the first whereas says has reviewed and approves the EJP policy and EJ guidance. That whereas, the way I read it, is not accurate. Because this is what we are actually going to approve under the resolution. So might I suggest that we just say where the High-Speed Rail Board has reviewed the policy and the guidance and delete and approves, because the approve will come subsequent when we adopt the resolution.
That's a very good suggestion, and we'll make that change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, this is a request for approval to authorize the CEO to transmit environmental justice policy and guidance to the FRA. With the proposed amendment by Vice Chair Shank, do we have a motion?
So moved.
By Vice Chair Shank, second by Director Rossi. All in favor? Or, excuse me, we're going to take a vote.
Call the roll.
Vice Chair Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Umberg?
Mr. Umberg?
Yes.
Mr. Hartnett?
Yes.
Mr. Baganoff?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Yes. And Vice Chair Shea?
Yes. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 5, which is the San Jose to Merced update. Mr. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Ms. Vice Chair and members of the board. Mark McLaughlin, Interim Deputy Director of Environmental Planning for the Authority. At the request and direction of the board from the May 3rd board meeting in Fresno, we are providing an update to you today for you as an information item to you on the process of the Y decision for San Jose to Merced section. David Leverins, the project manager at Parsons, a regional consultant for this section, will provide the presentation to you.
Thank you. Good morning. What Mark didn't tell you is that I took over responsibility for the project about 6 months ago, and this is my first opportunity to speak to you, so I'm very pleased to be here. This is an informational briefing. We're not asking you for any action today. We will be back to you in December asking for requesting action, but for now this is just an update on where we are between San Jose and Merced. I want to take about 1 minute to review the San Jose to Merced section for you. The alignment has 5 subsections. We're in the upper left-hand corner in the San Jose Station approach area. We're evaluating one alignment option, and we're working with the City of San Jose on visual design guidelines. Moving down to Monterey Highway, we have just one alignment option that we're working on in this subsection. The Morgan Hill to Gilroy subsection is where you have both the green and the red lines. We have 2 primary corridors along US 101 and the UP Railroad. We're evaluating design options and facilities to address the feedback that we've received from the stakeholders in this area. And we're cognizant of the need to use the San Jose station as an interim terminus station per the revised 2012 business plan. The Pacheco Pass takes us over the hill there, and we're working with resource agencies regarding impacts, particularly to the San Luis Reservoir in that area. Finally, the San Joaquin Valley Crossing and the Ys is what is the focus of this presentation. The San Jose to Merced section team presented, we were here last summer as part of the supplemental AA process. At that time, the board directed that the Y decision be made as part of the San Jose to Merced section rather than the Merced to Fresno section. During that time, we've been working closely with Merced to Fresno, actively proceeding in joint meetings to ensure a smooth transition over to our section. We've had ongoing meetings with a wide variety of stakeholders, and it's allowed evaluation of potential refinements and possible refinements. With selection of the hybrid now, the team has clear anchor points for the analysis of the Y area as a whole. And after hearing any possible direction that we might get from you today, we'll continue with technical and environmental evaluation, shareholder outreach. We'll conduct public information meetings and incorporate the findings into a third supplemental AA, which will come to you in December. This slide shows the Y configuration, which was discussed in the Merced to Fresno final EIR documents that the board approved in May. There are 3 options listed: Avenue 24, SR 152, and Avenue 21. We're evaluating both the north-south components of each of those options and the east-west components. We've met with a broad range of interested and affected parties, including federal, state, and local agencies, stakeholder organizations, agricultural interests, school districts, as well as the broader public. We've received a lot of very useful feedback on a variety of issues and interests that are concerned about these various alignments, and additional outreach is planned. In very broad strokes, I'd like to speak briefly about what we're hearing. If there's one slide that speaks to the heart of what we've been doing lately, this is it.
The process of engaging the stakeholders has generated multiple conceptual alignment ideas. West of Chowchilla, we're looking at shifting the alignment, either east or west a little bit, within a quarter roughly bounded by roads 11 and 13. That's west of Chowchilla. East of Chowchilla, we're looking at shifting the Y further east, a little further east, within a quarter bounded by roads 18 and 19 roughly. Both east and west, we remain very mindful about the benefits of following existing roadways. Additionally, we've heard general support for moving the SR 152 alignment closer to the freeway and exploring alignments either north or south of that freeway. An alignment along SR 152 is heavily influenced by a 45-year-old freeway agreement that was signed by Madera County and Caltrans, 1968. It defines 6 locations for future interchanges and specifies that intermediate roads would be closed or separated from the freeway. We've met with Caltrans District 6 staff as well as Madera County staff together and separately multiple times regarding the configuration of high-speed rail along SR 152. Future interchange needs limit how close we can get up against the highway. But since an alignment closer to 152 reduces considerably the agricultural impacts, we continue to work with Caltrans and Madera County to move in that direction, and we're making quite a bit of progress. In addition to any other direction that the board may offer today, the team will continue to gather input. We'll coordinate with the technical working group to get local agency input. We'll conduct public information meetings to get input from the public. And we'll also conduct more stakeholder meetings, however many we need to do. And based on the results of this process, we'll complete the Checkpoint B and 404 process. We'll complete the Supplemental AA, and we'll return and report back to you in December, seeking direction at that time on which specific alignments to include in the draft EIR-EIS. That document we expect in the fall of 2013. Following a public review period, we expect to complete the final EIR-EIS and obtain the nod in spring of 2014, and the ROD should follow in the summer of 2014. Are there any questions?
Questions or comments from anybody? Yes,
Yes, I thought the presentation was very helpful in bringing us up to date. I would like the CEO to consider if the board is amenable to potentially having another report before December so that the December presentation is somewhat fresher for us in the sense I don't want to just have silence between now and December. I'd rather get an update before then, and whether it's October or November, but whichever is the appropriate time to do it.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the... I'd just like to make one, and I think it's worthy of comment. I hear mostly, obviously, from people in the area around the valley, Merced, Chowchilla, in and around the Y and to the south. And I think, Mr. Morales, you should be congratulated with what I'm hearing thus far, and it's been very rewarding. And that is the unsolicited phone calls with regards to the tenor at the meetings, the outreach, the general attitude of staff and consultants, the open-mindedness, and a real sense of optimism with regards to how this process is ongoing, even as recently as yesterday with 2 phone calls. And these were completely unsolicited, so you should be congratulated. Let's just keep up the good work.
Good. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 6, the revised draft EIR-EIS Fresno-Bakersfield. Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you. For this item, as you're aware, the revised draft EIR supplemental draft EIS for the Fresno-Bakersfield section was released by the authority and the FRA on July 20th for the 60-day comment period. We're providing a presentation to you today as an information update on this section for you. Jeff Abercrombie is the Central Valley Program Manager for the Authority. Will provide this presentation to you.
Thank you, Mark. Vice Chair, I appreciate the opportunity to brief the board on the Fresno-Bakersfield section as well as the revised and supplemental EIR documents. First, it's important to point out again that this is an update, and there are no decisions that need to be made in conjunction with this presentation. No board action is required. I will overview a few of the events leading up to the revised draft environmental impact report and the supplemental draft environmental impact statement, review the project alternatives with you, and then discuss in a little more detail the ongoing work with the revised documents, and then conclude with a few next steps. It's always important to recap a little bit about where we've been, and it started with the statewide programmatic document for the EIR EIS in 2005, which selected the BNSF corridor as the preferred alignment for Fresno to Bakersfield. Notably, though, leaving that existing track alignment with a bypass to Hanford to the west. That document did, though, also commit to performing a study for a potential station in the area, because the preferred alternative in that document did not have a station. Through the Visalia-Tulare-Hanford station feasibility study, with the feedback and the impacts from stakeholders in the city and county at that time, the decision was made to locate a station on the east side of Hanford. That is what became the present BNSF alternative that was released in the document in 2011. The revised draft, that document, the draft EIR-EIS, had 6 specific project alternatives. The revised draft EIR, supplemental draft EIS, now has 8 alternatives in response to agency reviews and public comments. A alignment back to the west of Hanford was included, and a hybrid alignment in Bakersfield was added. We, of course, continue to have discussions with stakeholders, broadening each of those that we contact as appropriate, and will continue to do so throughout the comment period. These meetings just a little over 2 months ago brought the revised alignments back out to the public. These public meetings were open house format, included all aspects of what would be seen in terms of the content of what would be discussed in the EIR documents. And the team went the extra step to produce some large-scale row plot maps to facilitate discussion with the attendees that were there, that could see the alignment a little more clearly and how it affects the properties that they were interested in. And then these were posted on the website after the meetings. And then, of course, we also did some focus groups with regards to technical, and those were specifically targeted government agencies in a smaller setting to facilitate open discussion. I want to stop here just a minute to talk a little bit about our permit coordination with our cooperating agencies, U.S. EPA and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We're responsible to continue to work with them through our EIR process, and we have 3 checkpoints that we take each of these project documents through, with checkpoint A, checkpoint B, and checkpoint C as described up there. Checkpoint B is the one I want to give you an update on with regards to specifically the Fresno to Bakersfield section. And that document, that checkpoint outlines an agreement of what alternatives need to be evaluated in the EIR and EIS documents. Most notably, it confirms that the supplemental alternative analysis process that we use to determine what is carried forward and what is not carried forward, we are in agreement at that time. And for we received that with this revised EIS document, and most notably, it does confirm that the I-5 corridors and the various 99 alignments would not be leading to a least environmentally damaging practical alternative. This overall map of the Fresno to Bakersfield section highlights the different alternatives. The BNSF alternative, as named, is slightly different than all the others in the sense that it is the full length of the from the Fresno station down to the Bakersfield station. But regionally, it is compared to the alternatives and the other alternatives are in there. So I'd like to just take a few minutes to walk through those and then in a little more detail on the following slides. For example, around the Hanford area, the BNSF alternative is the alignment in blue to the east of the city of Hanford. The alternative alignment is the Hanford West. In the Corcoran area, there happen to be three. The BNSF alignment is along the west side of the BNSF tracks through Corcoran. It starts at grade, and as it moves through Corcoran, becomes elevated. The other alignment through Corcoran is elevated on the east side of the tracks, and then the bypass that you see there further to the east. Allensworth, similarly in that area, the BNSF is, in this case, is along, again, the west side of the BNSF tracks, and then the bypass. Wasco Shafter, the BNSF is the through town area, and the bypass is to the east. And then in Bakersfield, there are also three alternatives as well. 8 various alignments in all, 72 possible combinations, so it gets a little cumbersome unless you think of it as a regional basis. The BNSF alignment, the Hanford East alignment, you've seen, it was in the original draft EIS. The pictures to the left of the screen there indicates approximate crossings of the Kings River complex, also kind of denoted by the arrow there, as well as the potential station there to the east. That is elevated in that area to go over the San Joaquin Valley Railroad and the Freeway 198. This alignment, as you recall, is one that impacts the Glacier Rural community on Ponderosa, as well as Baker's Commodity. The Hanford West alignment, the images that you see there is near Layton. We're going aerial at that point to go over Whitney Boulevard and then over the Kings River complex. And then the bottom picture is the approximate boundaries or location of the proposed high-speed rail station. The Hanford West actually has two options. Hanford West 1 ties into the through Corcoran on the west side, and the Hanford West 2 ties into the alignments that go through Corcoran on the east side. Both of those alignments have a at grade as well as a below grade option to go over or to have separation at the San Joaquin Valley Railroad and Highway 198. This is a very simple snapshot, small snapshot of the data that is in the revised draft environmental impact report and the supplemental draft impact statement, and it's only providing a small data set. The revised documents have a full discussion about all of the data, and of course more detailed information would be presented to the board when we, as we move forward to a preferred alignment. Continuing to the south, I had talked about Corcoran. Corcoran, the upper picture there is near the Newark Avenue area, where there are some residential impacts on the bypass. In the lower picture, the train would be to the left in that. Now, this is Otis Avenue on the through alignment. Again, there are three. The Hanford West option connects to the what we consider a hybrid alignment that was developed with the City of Corcoran that would allow for a grade separation at Orange Avenue of both the high-speed rail and the BNSF corridor. And then there is an elevated one on the east side of the tracks all the way through town, and then, as I mentioned, the bypass to the east. Again, a very simple, small data set of the information in the EIR document. Allensworth, the BNSF alignment, again runs along the track to the west side of the existing BNSF corridor. It does impact the Allensworth Ecological Reserve and the Allensworth State Historic Park. The bypass moves further to the west and avoids those conflicts. The alignment here is at grade. And again, just a brief summary. The BNSF alignment starts out on the west side of the BNSF as it moves into Wasco. It is elevated until it leaves Wasco, but it crosses the BNSF to the east side and continues south through Shafter, and then changes back to the west side and stays on the west side until it moves into the city of Bakersfield. This alignment is aerial in the Wasco-Shafter urban areas, otherwise at grade. The pictures there, that is the Wasco Amtrak station, and that would need to be relocated. It is, and in the Shafter image down below, again, the train would be in the background. These images to the left are typical of the land that you'd see on the Wasco-Shafter bypass. Again, this is predominantly at grade, other than at the ends where we do have to cross over the BNSF. And a brief snapshot of some of the comparisons, some of the data in the EIR. This is a map that covers the whole Bakersfield area as we come into town, with it being on the west side of the tracks. And there are three alignments. You will remember many of these slides from our March board meeting, and where we introduced a hybrid alignment, which is the green alignment there, that was an attempt to reduce the impacts to various Bakersfield community concerns. Let's look at that in a little more detail. We've broken it down essentially to the west side of town, the central core of Bakersfield, and then the east. The BNSF alternative is the alignment in red. It is sometimes referred to as the Bakersfield South alignment, and that was due to the naming convention to the station was towards the south relative to the other alignments. The Bakersfield North alignment is the blue, and that's because the station is to the north slightly. And then the hybrid is again in green. The BNSF yards is what is pictured there, that is affected by the blue alignment. And then a little further to the east is the Bakersfield High School. And the image on the top of the map there is the office complex behind Mercy Hospital. Here's the central core. We'll zoom here on the next slide a little bit more about the station, but you can see some of the community interests highlighted there. The image picture that is there is of St. George Greek Orthodox Church, which would be adjacent to both the north station site as well as the hybrid, which is station site, which is a little bit further to the east. Taking a little closer look at that. Essentially, all three of those station sites are very close proximity. The yellow is the north station site associated with the Bakersfield South. The the blue line or the Bakersfield North option, and the blue area was the South Station associated with the BNSF alternative, and the hatching is associated with the hybrid alternative. This is the Bakersfield East section, and based on comments received on the draft EIR-EIS, the revised draft environmental impact report and supplemental draft impact statement shows the extensions to the east of the stations for all three of these segments until they merge back together at about Oswell. This is to better help the public understand the potential impacts in that area and whether they specifically are impacted. And this is the last table. And again, you may note here that the hybrid has reduced some impacts in the area, but in other classifications, the impacts have increased. As Mark mentioned, in the revised EIR-EIS documents were released on July 20th, and for the 60-day comment period, it will close on September 20th. All the comments that are received during this period, and as well as the comment period for the 2011 document, will be addressed in the final EIR-EIS formally. What we have coming up, first to facilitate the public's getting to comment on these documents, is some informational workshops. The focus of these documents, this is similar to what we did last year, is to make it a open house format where we can answer questions, we can show people where to find information in the document, how to find information in the document, how to comment on the document, and if they are ready to submit comments, we will receive written comments. The schedule is there. We picked some of the smaller locations for these to help make sure that there is as much coverage as possible up and down the alignment. And this effort is obviously in addition to the required public meetings, which focus really on receiving public oral comment with a court reporter. And the scheduled meeting dates are there, starting in Bakersfield on August 27th, and then in the Hanford area on August 28th, and Fresno the 29th. And I expect I'll be joined by some of you again as panelists for those hearings. To conclude, for next steps, we have the comment period that will close September 20th. The comments will be reviewed and merged in with the previous comments. We will look at those and the data, continue to work with our cooperating agencies to come up with a preferred alternative to bring to the board in the fall. We anticipate issuing a final EIR-EIS to the public at the end of 2012, and so that the board can review that and certify it with the target date of February 2013, and FRA issuing their record of decision about a month after that. Does the board have any questions for me?
Yes, Vice Chair Shank.
Well, the first question I have was raised by a couple of the speakers, and that is the 60-day comment period for 30,000 pages of documents. I too don't think that this was anticipated when we first had these rules, regulations to implement the CEQA laws. Is there any possibility of stretching this out without causing major harm? I guess I have to direct that to our CEO.
Let me, Madam Chair, if I could make a few comments about things we are doing to help the public evaluate this document. We understand the complexity and the level of interest, and it's important to work through that. One of the prior slides spoke to the public workshops that are being put together, which are specifically intended to help the public understand how they can read the document, how to understand it, how to comment on it. One of the other points, this document is a revision of a document issued a year ago. In the document that has been issued, the changes from that prior document have been highlighted so that people can understand what they've seen previously and what they're seeing that is new, so that they can focus in on that. And that's a significantly smaller portion of the document than the entire document. One other step I would just note, and then I'd invite other comments from Mr. Abercrombie. We have provided an additional hard copy to Mr. Oliveira's group, or providing the full document. They'll have that. I believe there was one piece of it that had not been provided and is being provided today. We understand, again, the complexity, and in an effort to make it more accessible to his group in particular, we have provided a hard copy above and beyond what's available in the public libraries and other locations. On the comment period, the required comment period is 45 days. When we issued the document, we went to 60 days right off the bat, recognizing, again, the complexity of it. We will certainly entertain and evaluate further requests for extensions as we go through, and I expect that will be an issue covered in these workshops, and we'll certainly evaluate that as a possibility.
Okay, well, good. I think 120 days is too much, but there might be some give there. And I think what we ought to do is make sure that the public understands that this has been around for a year, and where the supplemental information ties back to the underlying document. That does make it, of course, much more manageable. So thank you.
I think all we want to do is we don't want anybody to think at this point that there is an extension beyond what's been noted, and to move forward on the basis of acknowledging that right now it's 60 days and not to rely upon the fact that that may change.
Good advice.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, Mr. Rossi.
I noticed the workshop dates, and again, listening to one of the things mentioned by a previous speaker, are they only held during the day, or would we hold them at night?
Thank you. The workshops run from 3 to 7 p.m. So that we can catch those that are in that shift before 5 p.m. and those that are in the shift that might be after 5 p.m. And they, again, are targeted into the less urban areas to try and make sure that we're giving everybody the attention and the ability to understand how to get to the document and how to respond to the document.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anything else for Mr. Abercrombie? If not, Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to, unless there's any objection from the members, we're going to move to item number 9, the CEO report, next, and then we'll come back to items 7 and 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As has been noted, this is hold off on that for a second. This is my first report to the board in this capacity, and I'm pleased to be here and make it a progress report. We are making progress. It's been mentioned, but we shouldn't overlook the fact that we did have a very historic occasion here with the approval by the legislature of the funding package and the governor signing that into law. It really is an historic occasion. The appropriation that was approved provides funding in 4 different categories. I think it's worth noting for people. And it really represents the evolution of this program into an unprecedented statewide investment in rail improvements throughout California that will provide huge improvements both in the near term and over the long run. The 4 categories are, first, to begin the construction of the first dedicated high-speed system, not only in this state but in the country, in the Central Valley. It includes funding for ongoing preliminary engineering and design work in the other segments of the system. Third, it funds specific connectivity projects, which are being managed or will be managed and provide benefits in local and regional transit systems. And fourth, it provides investments in what has become known as the bookends, consistent with the memoranda of understanding that have been reached between the authority and the regional partners in Northern and Southern California. Those investments will provide near-term benefits and lay the groundwork for the long-term arrival of the high-speed rail system. Combined, what this package did was approve $4.7 billion in state bond funds, in turn leveraging almost $13 billion of rail investments throughout the state. A really critical moment. And as I'll discuss, we'll talk about what we're doing with our partners to advance this program. A few items in terms of the priorities that I spoke to the board about in taking on the job in terms of building an organization capable of delivering this program, strengthening our partnerships with regional agencies and other stakeholders, and expanding our capability to deliver projects. On the organizational front, one of the areas that this board has been very concerned about, the legislature and others have, is the lack of senior staff at the authority. And I'm pleased to say that we're making real progress on that. I expect to be able to announce within the next week or so the majority of senior positions being filled at the authority. We've identified candidates and are in the final processes of bringing them on board. What this will do in a principle in filling out the organization is ensuring that we have government people making government decisions and able to be held accountable for those decisions. It also includes a stronger emphasis on local representation so that we, as we move forward in Northern California, in the Central Valley, and in Southern California, we have people on the ground who can be accountable to our stakeholders there and represent the authority. I also want to note one particular hire that's significant in the context of the adoption of the small business program, and that is the bringing on board of a small business advocate. Robert Padilla is here. Robert? I would ask him to stand up. Robert has held this position at Caltrans. We've brought him over to the High-Speed Rail Authority. His job specifically is to be the advocate for small businesses in participating in our program. So he will be out in the field working with small businesses, helping them understand how to get certified, how to connect with primes, and work through that process. He'll be a very important part of our ability to actually achieve the goals that the board has now set. We have also made real progress in terms of, in addition to the interagency agreement that was approved here, identifying other shared resources with Caltrans and other agencies so that we can leverage existing skills throughout state government. In terms of our partnerships, we've had a meeting a week ago with Caltrain to look at how we start advancing the Caltrain electrification, which is funded through this program. We expect to see the first milestones in that program actually achieved this fall, and we'll see progress. That will be the first electrified system in the state of California, and it will be proceeding as we committed with the legislature with a system that is primarily substantially within the Caltrain right-of-way at grade and consistent with the project level EIR approved by the board. We've also met with the heads of the Southern California agencies to start advancing the projects there consistent with the MOU. Next week, I and Board Member Richards will be in Fresno meeting with Mayor Swearingen and other local leaders to move the Central Valley piece forward and make sure we're addressing the issues there. We've also seen significant progress since the last board meeting. The California Transportation Commission approved the connectivity projects, which is funding $900+ million of improvements in the bookends. We expect to see, in fact, the first allocation of those funds as early as this month by the CTC for Metrolink to start upgrading its locomotive fleet. And we will be reporting to this board on the progress of those projects. In terms of our capability of delivering, we've just had the presentation of the draft EIR, the revised draft EIR, and the public meetings and all of the efforts being made there. I do want to note that those documents are also available online and in CD form, which we can make available to anyone requesting them. We expect the Rod Knott on the northern section, Merced-Fresno, this month, continuing to move forward on the RFP for the first construction. And on August 14th, we'll have an industry outreach meeting in Fresno to present and to start discussing the construction packages 2 through 4 with both potential prime contractors and subcontractors. Final point I want to make, we will be issuing later this week our response to the Bureau of State Audits on our 6-month audit report. I'm very pleased to say that each of the items that the BSA had identified is dealt with head-on in this response. We are showing them not just a commitment to address their issues, but actual results in dealing with their issues. We also have a series, as a result of the appropriation, of legislative reports that will be due, and we are moving forward on those, and we'll be providing those updates to the board as well. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions or comments.
Thank you. Questions for CEO Morales? I just want to make one comment, and I really congratulate and thank you for your bringing Robert Padilla on board. I think one of the major issues with regards to a small disadvantaged and disabled business program is that so many of these small businesses are not certified. And so it's great to have a program. It's even greater to make sure that we've got the ability to help these small businesses interested in doing work on high-speed rail have the ability to get certified so that they can become real participants. So thank you very much. And Robert, I understand, is a bulldog, so he's very familiar with the valley, and we're all going to be happy to see you down there.
He's a bulldog in more ways than one, I think.
All right, that's what we need. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 8, which is an update on the Title VI program.
This item is for informational purposes only and does not require action by the board. On March 1st, 2012, the board adopted the Title VI policy and accordingly approved the CEO to present the Title VI program plan for approval to FRA. We're glad to say that FRA approved the Title VI program on May 25th. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Okay. Item number 7 is, this item is also for informational purposes and does not require action by the board. On September 15, 2011, the FRA directed the California High-Speed Rail to conduct a disadvantaged business enterprise availability and disparity study. The request was as a result of a Title VI complaint that was filed in December of 2010. The directive indicated that the study must be completed no later than 1 year from September 15th. That means that the study would have been completed in a couple months from now. On October 6th, the authority requested FRA to authorize the use of existing grant funding to complete the study in an estimated amount of $250,000. On April 26th, the FRA authorized the funding request. However, we also saw that we did not have enough time in the year to complete the study as initially directed by FRA. Therefore, we requested an extension of the completion of the disparity study. FRA approved that particular extension on June 26th. Therefore, we will be moving forward in completing a availability and disparity study by July of 2013. The study will examine the availability of DBEs who are ready, willing, and able to participate in high-speed rail projects and examine whether and to what extent there are disparities between availabilities of DBEs and their utilization on the authority's past federally assisted contracts. The authority's past contracts award are all professional services at this time. The selected study consultant may use information from relevant existing transportation services disparity studies, such as those from Caltrans, Bay Area Rapid Transit, LA County Metro. So the consultant will be evaluating not only the disparities that may exist, but again, most importantly, in the establishment of the 10% DBE goal that was approved earlier, is the availability of DBEs who are, again, ready, willing, and able to perform on this historic project.
Thank you.
Do
Any
you have any
questions or comments? All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attendance and participation. We're now going to go into closed session to discuss litigation. We will report out at the end of the closed session. Just my guess is it will be an hour or more. So thank you again. That's what you need to hear.
We need high-speed.
time you adjourn. Actually, Tom, if you would at least just sit there and adjourn it, so it's on the video. If you could go up and just do it so it's on the video. But no, they don't have to.
What? Nothing to report. It's not recorded, or is it? Oh, still? Okay. The High-Speed Rail Authority Board is back in session. We have discussed the litigation items as discussed earlier. We have nothing to report, and the meeting is now adjourned.